Good afternoon, everyone. Can someone tell me whether my voice is clear or not? And is this screen clearly visible to all of you? आवाज सही से आ रही है सबको? Okay. So welcome to today's session, and we will be doing 5th and 6th February current affairs. Okay. And we'll see how we can utilize these current affairs not only from the objective point of view but also from the descriptive point of view. Okay. So first we'll start with the ESI and finance news. So one of the first news is related to Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of India. Okay. So there is some change that Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India wants to do in order to make this process a lot more simpler. So as insolvency as all of you know, insolvency proceedings was started Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code was started to resolve insolvency. And in this, the two major objectives were, first of all, to protect the businesses that can be protected, okay, and also to provide an exit route for those businesses that are non-viable. ठीक है? तो होता क्या है? For example, one of the business have huge debt pile of. ठीक है? अब debt बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया. So how do we resolve these things? So this was developed to do away with this issue. So Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, administers a process. ठीक है? And this process helped in resolution plan with respect to how to resolve the insolvency. And if any resolution plan do not is accepted by the creditors, then obviously in the end liquidation will anyways happen. ठीक है? अगर किसी बिजनेस के पास ऑलरेडी इतना सारा डेट है, तो अब जिन्होंने लोन दिया हुआ है, जितने भी क्रेडिटर्स हैं, उनके पास क्या सोल्यूशन है? एक लास्ट सोल्यूशन तो ऑलवेज रहता ही है कि जितने भी कंपनी के एसेट्स हैं उन सबको बेच के जितना पैसा मिल जाए उतना दे दो. बट व्हाट इफ दैट बिजनेस इज स्टिल in that sector? If we can continue that business can in later on generate more revenue. तो उस बिजनेस को बचाया भी जा सकता है. So how to make sure that we restructure whatever debt that they have, so that if that business is a viable option, so it can be continued by restructuring the debt. बट अगर नहीं है, बिजनेस ही वायबल नहीं है ऐसी इंडस्ट्री में, और उसके जितने भी प्रोसेसेस हैं, ऑल दोस थिंग्स मेक्स दैट पर्टिकुलर कंपनी अ वेरी बैड इन टर्म्स ऑफ फ्यूचर, तो फिर तो उसका लिक्विडेशन कर सकते हैं. बट फॉर दैट ऑल्सो इंसॉल्वेंसी एंड बैंक्रप्सी वॉज अ वेरी क्रिटिकल ऑप्शन. ठीक है? एग्जिट रूट भी नहीं मिल पाते थे, ना लिक्विडेशन हो पा रहा है, तो जितने भी क्रेडिटर्स थे वो कह रहे हैं कि पैसा फंसा हुआ है. तो उसके बाद से आईबीसी आया, एंड वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट processes that IBC utilized, IBC started to appoint insolvency professionals. ठीक है? ये लोग क्या करते हैं? They make resolution plans, and these resolution plans can be कि कंपनी का जितना डेट है उसको रिस्ट्रक्चर कर देते हैं. रिस्ट्रक्चर एज इन मोर टेन्योर और सम मोर इंटरेस्ट रेट्स, बट उनको थोड़ा लिक्विडिटी प्रोवाइड करके एनीथिंग दैट कैन कंटिन्यू द कंपनी. देन दे सबमिट दिस रेजोल्यूशन प्लान टू द कमिटी ऑफ क्रेडिटर्स. द कमिटी ऑफ क्रेडिटर्स कंसिस्ट ऑफ ऑल दोज क्रेडिटर्स दैट हैव प्रोवाइडेड द लोन टू दैट पर्टिकुलर कंपनी. इफ द कमिटी ऑफ क्रेडिटर्स अग्रीज अपॉन दिस रेजोल्यूशन प्लान, तब तो ठीक है, रेजोल्यूशन प्लान इंप्लीमेंट हो जाएगा. But if this committee of creditors do not accept, then the resolution plan will be rejected and the company will go for liquidation. That means selling off the assets. तो ये normal process रहता है. And the news is in context of insurance professionals. So the news is that previously, for example, take this company which has huge debt. Okay? Then there is another company which acted as a guarantor of some amount of company's debt. So the creditors who have provided the loan to this company, company A, they will not only go for company A, they will also go for guarantor also, because you guaranteed that you will be paying this debt in case if this company do not pay this debt. So that means both of these entities, okay, both of these entities, against both of these entities, insolvency professionals will be appointed to formulate resolution plan. इसके पास भी पैसा नहीं है, जो गारंटर था उसके पास भी पैसा नहीं है. मान लो इसका 100 करोड़ का है, उसके पास बेचारे के पास 10 करोड़ है, तो आप कैसे करोगे? ठीक है, तो दोनों को इंसॉल्वेंसी एंड बैंक्रप्सी बोर्ड में ले गए. ठीक है, एक इंश्योरेंस प्रोफेशनल इसके लिए बैठाया, एक इंश्योरेंस प्रोफेशनल इसके लिए बैठाया, IP1 और IP-A फॉर से और IP-B. बट ओवरऑल सिचुएशन इज सेम. द कंपनीज डेट, ये सबसे बड़ी चीज है, इसके बेसिस पे सारी बात होंगी. सो द न्यूज सेज दैट फ्रॉम नाउ ऑन, और द गवर्नमेंट इज थिंकिंग अबाउट दैट द इंश्योरेंस प्रोफेशनल फॉर द कंपनी एंड इट्स गारंटर, they both can be same. Understood? And this will help how? Because usually if two different people are appointed for the same issue, even though different stakeholder, they will have different opinion and perspective on this issue. Machine तो है नहीं कि एक ही चीज आएगी दिमाग में. Anyway, these are professional humans, है ना? They will find different resolution plan. इसको लगेगा कि इसको बचा लेते हैं, the other person will say ये कंपनी बच नहीं सकती. So there are two different plans. फिर दोनों को एक्सेप्ट कराओ. अब अगर एक प्रोफेशनल, अगर आप एक्सेप्ट दोनों जगह पे करोगे तो कंपनी की जितने भी रेजोल्यूशन प्लान्स होंगे वो स्ट्रीमलाइन हो जाएंगे, है ना? एंड द प्रोसेस विल बिकम मच मोर ऑप्टिमाइज्ड. ओके, सो देयर विल बी नो difference of opinion with respect to resolution plans. So that's what the news is about. As you can see, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India has now allowed the same resolution professional or insolvency professional for insolvency process of a company as well as its personal guarantor. And this is for better harmonization and effective coordination of both processes. Is this clear to everyone? Any confusion? Let's move on to the next question or next news. Okay, so there is this news about extension of this scheme, which is a textile ministry specific scheme known as rebate of state and central taxes and levies scheme on exports and made-ups. Okay, so in context of these two things, whatever taxes that is being applied on those products, not only from the state as well as from center, those will be rebate. So such type of scheme has been extended till March 31, 26. Next news is a positive news in context of logistics. So you can see cargo movement through waterways have been up by 700% in 10 years. Okay, so you can see that this data show that freight transport through waterways increased to 126 million tons in 2022-23 from 18 million ton in 2013-14. And obviously there will be various reasons associated with this, because not several waterways were developed at that particular point of time, and as the years went by, a lot more national waterways developed. So national, all those multimodal logistics parks developed, and because of which even warehouses developed. So unless you develop infrastructure alongside those waterways, there is no point, okay? So that's why this increase has been visible. So the most important thing, apart from the news which you can utilize in descriptive answers also, let's see some of the national waterways also, because this question can also come. So national waterway is on river Ganga, national waterway 2 on river Brahmaputra, national waterway 3 on west coast canal, Kollam to Kottapuram. Then we have national waterway 4 on Godavari Krishna canals, okay. National waterway 5, Brahmani Delta canals. Then we have national waterway 6 on Barak river, okay. The most prominent rivers का आप याद करके रखिए, that will be much more helpful. तो पर्सनल गारंटर की कंपनी लिक्विडेट थोड़े होगी, पर्सनल गारंटर लिक्विडेट होगा, उसके एसेट्स उठाए जाएंगे क्योंकि उसने गारंटी दी है, okay. Let's move on to the next. So direct tax to GDP ratio has been the highest in a decade, okay. So it's soon going to touch 6.6% in financial year 24, okay. So this is a huge number. If you see, this not only talks about tax revenue increase of the government, ठीक है. अब देखो आपको डायरेक्ट टैक्स का तो मिल ही गया. You've seen this ratio that signifies that increase in revenue of the central government with respect to direct tax. But if I ask you with respect to indirect tax, so can you give me a statistic which you guys have that showcase that even in indirect taxation, the average revenue of the government has increased from the previous years? And that statistic has also been, talked about in the budget also. So what's that statistic? Does anyone know? Yes, correct. GST. GST average of 1.66 lakh crore. And see the number. I hope this will make you easier to remember both direct as well as indirect tax. ठीक है? तो 1.66 GST का average हो गया, 6.6 direct tax to GDP ratio. Okay, and the data is from Central Board for Direct Taxes. Then we have TERI or the Energy and Resources Institute, okay, has developed a green shipping portal. Okay, so this green shipping portal of TERI, this will help in, collection of various environmentally sustainable practices that all the ports are utilizing. Okay, so it will have a repository of all over India, whatever ports or whatever activities these ports are doing in context of green shipping. Okay, those will be on a single platform, and that platform of this or this portal, this will help, in exchanging information regarding how are you utilizing that process. Okay, then technology transfer can also happen amongst various ports also. So this is the primary objective with respect to this green shipping portal of TERI. ठीक है, to track practices by ports across the country, collect information at national and international level on port and shipping practices. And this is mostly in context of green shipping or sustainable practices in, you know, shipping sector. ठीक है, next is growth projection by OECD. Okay, so the OECD raised its 2024 World Economic Growth forecast. Okay, so this forecast has been increased not only about India but also about the world too. So globally it has increased its projection to 2.9%, which was previously 2.7%. And with respect to India's financial year 25, they are saying, not this year, but the next financial year, they are saying India will be growing at 6.2%. Okay. So these two are the major, you know, percentage that you guys need to remember: the global growth rate as well as the, you know, India's growth rate. OECD's headquarters is at Paris, France. Okay, and can you guys tell me whether India is a member of OECD or not? Yes, Rohit, correct. India is not the member of OECD. Okay. So these are the various growth projections that various institutions have provided in context of India, and that too financial year 25. IMF says India's will be growing at 6.5, World Bank 6.4, S&P 6.4, ADB 6.7, and OECD 6.2. This is with respect to India's bank credit growth. Okay, so S&P is thinking that India's bank credit growth will moderate in financial year 24-25. Okay. This data, anyways, this data of bank credit growth for you, the most important data will be whatever RBI is telling you about in context of in its reports. Okay. Then we have data on gender inclusivity. So this data that you need to remember in context of economic participation of women in India. Okay. In gender justice, we have studied this concept of glass ceiling effect. What does this mean? That women can grow in an organization only up to a particular limit, and various other high positions are not accessible to women. This issue is being explained through a glass ceiling key term. Okay, that there is some glass ceiling despite being too much skilled. Women, you know, in large proportions do not get access to such top positions. So this is your argument using this keyword. So what can you tell that can support your argument? You can provide this data which says that Ministry of Corporate Affairs have fined 507 companies of 27 crore for not appointing at least one woman to their board of directors. You know, from April 2018 to 23, 500 कंपनियां ऐसी हैं जिन्होंने जो मैंडेटरी कंप्लायंस होता है टू अपॉइंट वन फीमेल ऑन टू देयर बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स, दे हैव नॉट फुलफिल्ड इट. 27 करोड़ की पेनल्टी दे देंगे लेकिन अपॉइंट नहीं करेंगे. सो दैट्स यू कैन यूटिलाइज एज अ support statistic for your argument. And this is Ministry of Corporate Affairs is saying. Next is center issues grading rules for 5 premium non-basmati rice varieties. ठीक है, तो grading rules बता दिए that can enable the authorized packers, ठीक है, who can either establish their own lab or they can have a cooperation with another lab, ठीक है, through which they will categorize the non-basmati rice into these 5 categories: Gobind Bhog, Tulai Panji, Katari Bhog, Kalunia and Radhuni Pakal. ठीक है. Next is brand guardianship index. So under this index, Mukesh Ambani has been placed top amongst Indians and second globally with respect to brand guardianship. ठीक है, this index is released by Brand Finance. Other Indians, Tata Sons chairman N. Chandrasekhar. So he has been placed at the 5th on the list. ठीक है, and the top placed index in the index is Tencent's Huateng Ma. ठीक है, so in India's second rank is there, 5th rank is there, Reliance, Mukesh Ambani, Tata, N. Chandrasekhar. ठीक है, Brand Finance is the publisher. Then we have National Clean Air Plan lists 131 cities struggling to meet norms. ठीक है, तो National Clean Air Program, this was launched in 2019. Okay, so just now in today's class we've seen that it aims to reduce PM 2.5 and PM 10 concentrations by how much percentage? Initially it was 20 to 30%, and by 2024, but this target was enhanced to how much? Can anybody tell? Yes, correct, 40%. By what year? No, not by 2030. Anyone else? By 2026. ठीक है. So within that 131 cities have been identified. So this has been the objective also. ठीक है, अब उन cities को identify कर लिया, तो ये 131 का figure आप याद रखना, and this is one of the most flagship scheme of government of India. So anyways, this is important. Next is Delhi government announced free bus ticket for transgenders also. ठीक है. Now FSSAI has come up with some news which is regarding that for food business operators, okay, there is no need for BIS and EGMARC certifications. And don't read this news in isolation. It's not like कि अब जरूरत ही नहीं भी किसी भी चीज की. FSSAI is saying if you have FSSAI license already, ठीक है, if you have FSSAI license or certification, then you do not need these two certifications. अगर आपके पास FSSAI का सर्टिफिकेट पहले से ही पड़ा हुआ है तो आप इनकी लेने की जरूरत नहीं है. अगर ये नहीं है तो obviously you need to take both of these certifications if these things are mandatory in your professional. ठीक है, so do not read in isolation कि अब जरूरत ही नहीं. It is अगर conditional that if you already have a FSSAI certification. So FSSAI is under Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. ठीक है, and the chairperson right now is Sudhansh Pant. So SBI mutual funds have launched India's first energy fund. ठीक है, तो म्यूचुअल फंड का काम क्या है? हर जगह से पैसा उठा के स्टॉक्स में इन्वेस्ट करना, ठीक है. बट व्हेन यू डेडिकेट अ पर्टिकुलर ऑब्जेक्टिव टू अ पर्टिकुलर फंड, इट पुट्स whatever fund it collects from its investors into a particular set of companies. So when it is saying India's energy fund, so whatever amount of funds will be collected into this fund, those will be utilized to invest in energy, generation and distribution firms. ठीक है, whether it is traditional or renewables. ठीक है, it's not solely about green, it's all about energy per se. Then we have Samsung leading the India's market share by 18%, ठीक है, in 2023, and this is by the report from Cyber Media Research. Then we have agriculture storage units to be set up in 65,000 villages. So as you can see that in the news it is saying that government aims to establish these storage unit at PSCS in couple of years. So this tells you what? That PSCS are not only being utilized in terms of dissemination of agricultural credit, but there are multiple other purposes being served under this PSCS only. ठीक है, कि PSCS को credit disbursement के साथ साथ storage unit भी बना लो, जिससे at some point of time in later future they can also act as a distributor of whatever you want to store in there, for example ration or any other thing. So thus making the PSCS units as multifunctional unit. Next is ONGC's Advanced Training Institute with respect to sea survival has been opened at Betul, Goa, and this has been dedicated by the Prime Minister. That's why you need to be aware of these things. Then we have Russian cosmonaut Oleg Kononenko. Okay, so he has broken the world record for the most amount of time spent in space. Okay, so he actually broke the world record of his fellow countrymen only. So the previous record was held by Gennady Padalka. Okay, so he spent 878 days, 11 hours, 30 minutes in space, and Oleg has crossed this time. Okay, so just remember the name of these two people, and obviously they are from Russia. Okay, so India's first private launch pad, and this is with respect to rockets. So India's space startup Agnikul Cosmos. Okay, so they will be starting their first launch pad. ठीक है, इन्होंने अपनी first rocket has they've already sent, but through this is their first launch pad, and that too India's first private launch pad. ठीक है, and definitely the question will come from this. ठीक है, so you need to be aware of these things. बहुत बार क्वेश्चन पूछा जा चुका है कि इंडियाज फर्स्ट प्राइवेट रॉकेट और सैटेलाइट हैज बीन लॉन्च्ड बाय विच स्टार्टअप. सो सिमिलरली इंडियाज फर्स्ट प्राइवेट लॉन्च पैड हैज बीन स्टार्टेड विद बाय विच स्पेस टेक स्टार्टअप. Okay, so you need to be aware of these things. So the location of launch pad is at Satish Dhawan Space Center, Sriharikota, Andhra Pradesh. Next is Indian women officers to take part in Saudi defense show. Okay, India is sending a 3-member delegation of women officers holding frontline roles in armed forces to take part in World Defense Show held, being held in Saudi Arabia. So these are the officers: Squadron Leader Bhavna Kant, Colonel Ponu, and Lieutenant Commander Anu Prakash. Then we have MOUs also. So LIC has recently launched Index Plus, which not only offers life cover but also savings option in it. Then we have IIT Madras and Munitions India. Both are partnering for developing India's first indigenous 155 smart ammunition. Then we have Institute of Rural Management and National Commodities and Derivative Exchange. So they have started cooperation in context of developing a center of excellence in agri commodities, and this will help in increasing the information and disseminating information regarding commodities market, commodity derivatives, all those things. Okay. So in providing support to commodity derivative markets in the areas of research and improving agricultural landscape. Then in appointments we have ADB's country director for India has been changed. So Mio Oka has been appointed. She replaced Takio Konishi. Okay, and it is very important that you remember ADB's static information also, that it was established in 1966, headquartered in Manila, Philippines. Okay, so ADB's 5 largest shareholder includes Japan and United States, each having 15.6%, China, India and Australia. Then we have Lieutenant General Upendra Dwivedi to take over as Northern, Army Vice Chief. So previously he was Northern Army Commander. Then we have Grammy Awards. Okay, so if we first go India specific, then we have, Ustad Zakir Hussain won 3 awards. Then even flautist Rakesh Chaurasia gets 2 prizes. Shankar Mahadevan won 1 Grammy. Violinist Ganesh Rajagopalan won. And then percussionist S. Vinayakram. They all bagged 1 each. ठीक है, तो ये सारे नाम याद रख लेना. And the most important, you have to remember the category in which they won. That means they are related to which instrument or which category. For example, singing, percussion and all those things. Then there are other awards too. So Shakti is a fusion group. So Shakti won 24 Grammy Award for Best Global Music Album for this moment. तो ग्रामी मिला है. आप लोगों में से किसने सुना है? नहीं सुना तो आप देख लेना इसको. Next is Zakir Hussain. We've already seen. He won for Best Contemporary Instrumental Album for As We Speak. Similarly, Rakesh Chaurasia won for We Speak and Pashto. Okay, and even the Best Global Music Performance category had 8 nominees, including Abundance in Millets song. And then we have news with respect to Taylor Swift. She sets record for winning Album of the Year and breaking the record for most win in this category with 4 awards. Okay. So this is all for today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, we meet in the next session, tomorrow's session. Okay. So tomorrow we'll do 7th and 8th. चलो, thank you guys for joining. We'll meet in the next session. Thank you.